Now there are 4 diagrams that are going to appear on the screen coming up soon. The first is the project location plan. As the word itself suggests, this is a diagrammatic representation of the location of the project that you are looking at. It gives its position in the context of certain key landmarks in and around that area. A railway line, a school, a sewage line, a road, a main road, an internal road, and where exactly is the particular project or the land on which this project is being constructed. That is colored in green, as you can see on the screen. And you have very clearly the approach roads demarcated, other plots demarcated, and of course the landmark infrastructure, be it roads, railway line, or any other such infrastructure. Now you have to now look at the project layout plan itself. That green land that you saw in the image, how does it look on a specific project layout? Where is building A and building B? Where is project phase 1 and where is project phase 2? Where is the clubhouse? Where is the children's playing area? What are the internal roads? And all that. That is the layout of the specific project that you are looking at. So for example, you are seeing here that there seem to be 4 distinct structures that are coming up. And their location vis-a-vis the entire infrastructure around the project and within the project. So where is the clubhouse located from a building A? Or how far is the main access to this project from building C? These are the kind of things so that you can take a considered decision as far as which particular building in a project you want to look at. East facing, west facing, Vastu, whatever it might be. Third layout plan which I've got here in front of you is the layout of a typical flat. So for example, this is a layout of a 1-bedroom hall kitchen apartment, and it shows where there is an open area terrace, where is the entrance of the property, what is the living room, shows you where you can possibly put your dining table and your sofas, the kitchen, the dimensions of the kitchen or the dimensions of each and every room in the house, the bedroom location, the access to the bathroom, is there a balcony, is there an open terrace, so you know how your house is going to look if you buy a 1-bedroom hall kitchen in this particular project. You will know whether your bedroom is facing north, south, east, west, and any other thing that you want to look at. Is there a window? Is there a balcony? How far is the kitchen from the dining area? How far is the toilet from the bedroom? All these are aspects that come out in this 1-bedroom hall apartment in this particular project in the layout plan that is before you. Now, whilst you obviously want to know the layout plan of your particular flat that you are interested in, you also want to see the overall layout of a particular floor, typically. So as you can see at the center of this diagram, there are 2 elevators, and then you come into a common area, which then leads you to 4 flats, 2 on the left and 2 on the right. Now all these flats are similar, and it doesn't matter, it might be 2 bedrooms, all of them, or some might be 2, some might be 1, but this shows you the layout. It tells you the same thing that we saw in the 1-bedroom hall apartment layout, but in a context of a full floor. So you know that there are 4 flats, for example, on each floor and not 10 or not 1. You also know whether you want the east north facing or the west south facing flat. What is the advantage and the disadvantage? The size is the same. The rate is probably the same also. But you actually have a choice of availability, and therefore you can decide whether you want the eastern sun, the morning sun coming into your bedroom, or you want the setting sun to come into your hall. And that is what this particular layout is. So now that you've seen a typical layout plan and understood some aspects of the progress of work, let's take a visual walkthrough to see what are the different stages of construction. Please remember that this is representative and it might be different for different locations with some slight variation. The other important thing is, from a lender's perspective, this shows the progress of work and therefore actually determines the reliability of the developer. It determines the amount of disbursement you should make. It signals any early warning signal whether you have a problem with the developer completing the project because you don't see progress between one visit and the next visit. As a buyer, extremely important, because if you were expecting a project in 18 months, for example, and a handover of your flat, but after 14 months, if the project is still at foundation stage because the project has slowed down, you know to anticipate now a delay. You know you don't want to make any more disbursements. Most importantly, you want to connect with the builder and understand why is it that in 14 months it is only still at foundation stage or plinth stage when it should have been more closer to the finishing stage, given the original commitment of 18 months to complete. Now, as you know, with RERA coming in, builders are required to commit a date. So there is some discipline that is attempted to be bring in, but nothing like a visual validation of that discipline. So you start with an open plot. That's how the builder starts building on a project, right? He's got an open plot, it is barren land. He then has to excavate to even the property out, excavate to build the foundation, excavate to decide where there will be sewage and water plant, excavate to determine where roads will come and clubhouses will come and the actual construction will come. Once he's done that and evened out the property, as you can see in the third image coming up, he then has to do the foundation. The foundation is where he goes downwards, below the ground level. And the foundation is important because it takes the strength and the weight of the entire construction. So a higher property, a more denser property requires a deeper foundation, a stronger foundation. And your technical person as a lending institution will validate the foundation's strength so that the building is not jeopardized because it is put under a foundation which can't take the weight of the superstructure that comes above the ground. Once he's done that, you will come across what is called the plinth level. The plinth level is the diagram that's come up now, and it shows the actual layout of how the construction will be done. The entire construction will be defined by the laying of the plinth. It's like a border being marked with a particular level of cement or bricks, and that what you see is that plinth that has been constructed. Once the plinth is done, depending on the height and the number of floors, you start putting up columns. You start putting up columns, then you have slabs, and you have columns, and you have slabs, and that's how each floor comes up. 5-storied building, 25-storied building, 35-storied building. You will have columns and you will have slabs. Once that is done, you start putting the RCC framework. As you can see, all the work at this stage is all external. The RCC framework is what defines the final layout of the particular building. It decides whether there are bedrooms, the bathrooms, all that work gets done, and once that RCC framework is over, you then move on to the brickwork. The brickwork puts the walls and leaves the gaps for the windows. It puts in the internal work also in terms of the bricks inside the house to demarcate a bedroom from a bathroom and a bathroom from a kitchen and a kitchen from a hall. Once that is done, the building needs to be provided with plastering. Now this is the beginning of beautifying the building and signals in a way the end of the core construction work. The plastering is done, the painting might be there, and then flooring. However, nowadays a lot of developers don't even provide flooring. They give what is called a bare shell as is, and it leaves it to the individual to decide whether he wants to put marble, mosaic, or whatever tiling he wants to do, the flooring he wants to do. Advantage, you have a choice of putting whatever kind of flooring you want to put, expensive, artistic, whatever. The disadvantage, there is extra work which you have to do, there's an extra cost you have to incur because the developer is saving that cost, because otherwise he would have provided you with the flooring. Of course, then you have all the amenities that come into play. The amenities are internal and external. Internal amenities can be modular kitchens, can be inbuilt cupboard, walk-in cupboards, or closets, and of course external, depending on the project, can be swimming pool, clubhouse, playing track, sports ground, football, community hall, theatres nowadays in more luxurious projects also. And then he gives you possession. When he gives you the possession, he is not necessarily completed the entire project. He might give you possession of a particular building or a particular wing. He might still be completing some of the amenities that we are talking about. But the possession gives you the official approval to start doing any internal furnishing work, etc., what you want to do to make your house customized to your needs and your family's needs. So we also have to look at how does valuation happen. Often there is a debate, is valuation a science or is it an art? And I think it's closer to being an art. Yes, you must know the mathematics that goes in, but it is not absolutely essential. What is the purpose of doing the valuation? The purpose of doing this valuation is to come up with a fair assessment of the price of the property. The purpose of doing this valuation is to ensure that as a lender, you have estimated the cost or the value of the property to ensure regulatory and legal compliance with whatever is required to be done. So there are factors that affect the valuation, and let's look at a high level points on what are these factors. One is the structure, the type of structure it is. The second is the age of the property. You then have two rates. One is the market rate and the second is the local sub-registrar's rate for determining municipal taxes. Then there is a consideration that comes into the actual deal. As a buyer, what am I paying? As a seller, what am I getting? You then have a property which is old, in which case you look at the depreciation valuation also, because properties depreciate. From a market value perspective, they may appreciate, but from a cost of construction, etc., there is definitely a depreciation that comes in. And then the last aspect is the amenities and the other facilities that are available to make sure that the valuation factors that in also.